Boys and girls. So our story goes. So let me ask you, have you ever had a problem, any of you? Yes? What do you do when you have a problem? You pray? Everybody pray when you have a problem? No? What else do you do? Pray? Okay. Alright, so the story that I'm going to tell you is about a family that's had a problem and how God helped them to solve it. And this happened in Poland many years ago, over 300 years ago. And the story shows us how interested God is in each of our problems, whether they are big or small. And we also learn that the same God who was able to solve this family's problem can solve our problems. The title of the story is called The Raven and the Rain. Anybody know what a raven is? Bird, yeah. What kind of bird? A blackbird, right. A blackbird is a blackbird. Dead bird? No, nothing like that. Regular blackbird. Alright? No, it's not a drum. A drum is different from a raven. Alright, okay, shh. Anybody knows of any story in the Bible about a raven? Right. And what happened in that story?
The king was married and he wandered away.
Right. So there was a drought, and the river was drying up, and lack of food and thing, and God sent the raven to feed Elijah. So we're going to go into our story. So this story has 5 people in the family: mother, father. The father's name is Dobry. And 4 children: Peter, Jacob, Anna, and baby Margot. So the father lost his job, and so they were running out of money. They didn't have any food to eat, and just like the story with Elijah, food supply was going out. They rented somewhere, so they needed to pay their rent. And this happened during the winter time. So it was very cold. You remember the day when we had the cold front? It was nothing compared to that. Much colder, because they had snow. So the father went to speak with the landlord, and pleaded with him to give him some more time so that he could pay the rent. And the man said, no, they need to get out. And he would be giving that. He went to him about 3 times to ask for some extra time. When he went back to the wife, he said, we would have to leave the house today. They're going to send somebody to evict us. They're going to throw them out. They have to clear out the house. And they were worried. And they didn't know what to do. And then the father came up with a brilliant idea. Anybody want to think what that idea was? To pray to God. However, they said, but we don't know God. The only thing they knew about God was what their grandfather told them. And the mother was saying, we don't know God and God don't know us. But they said, let us try anyway. And they decided to kneel down just like grandfather taught them how to do. And everybody knelt. And they prayed to God and asked God to, find a way to help them to solve this big problem that they were having. About an hour or 2 after they prayed, they heard a noise outside. Like a knock on the door. And the mother was, oh my God, I can't believe they're here ready to throw us out. When she went to open the door, they didn't see anybody. Father said, well, that's strange. I'm sure I heard a noise not too long ago. And then a raven flew in. And this raven was called Midnight, because he black. And he went to pitch on the window sill where are similar to some of the stones that we find in New Jerusalem. Can you tell me some of these stones?
Ruby.
Anybody else? Crystal? Gems. Gem is a broad word. They have different types of gems. So think about what I said. Diamonds. Yeah. Crystal. Amethyst. Beryl. Pearls. Gold. Sapphire. Right? So this ring had a lot of precious stones. And the father took it from, carefully took it out of the bird's beak. And was, could this be the answer to our prayer? But this was a very expensive ring. No ordinary person could afford such a ring. And the mother said to him, don't worry, this is the answer to our prayer. You need to sell the ring and buy us food and pay the rent. But the father was saying, I can't sell something that doesn't belong to me. I need to go and find out who this ring belongs to. The mother said, what are you talking about? We prayed and God sent us an answer to our prayer. Anyway, he said, let me go outside, I need to think. And he was there thinking what he needed to do. And he told the family that he was going to this town that called Warsaw. He was going to see if he could find who the ring belonged to. So he was walking along and thinking, he saw some ladies that had a nice pretty bracelet. And he asked them, where did you get such a bracelet like that? But because he was poor, they run him away. I said, get away from here. You couldn't afford anything like this. But one of them directed him to a jewelry shop. And he went into the jewelry shop and was asking the jeweler. The jeweler was like, what are you doing here? You can't afford anything here. Anyway, how may I help you? And he was telling him about the ring to see if he could help him. He ran him away, said, that's what you all coming here to say, you thief. He went somewhere else to a silversmith to see someone who would make jewelry. Nobody believed him. So he was there walking along until he heard a church bell ringing. He said, okay, once there's a church, a minister is there, so I'll go and talk to the minister. So he went into the church and started to talk to the pastor. And he told him everything that happened when he lost his job and they were going to throw him out of the house and they were hungry and everything. And he finally showed the pastor the ring. The pastor was surprised. He was like, this ring? I said, yes, it's beautiful. I said, no, I know who this ring belongs to. Guess who the ring belongs to? Oh, the king. Yes, the ring belongs to the king. He said, no ordinary person could afford such a ring. And he said, what if I decided to sell this ring? The pastor said, you would have been in the king's dungeon. The king would have locked him up. So he said, go to the king's palace, tell him your story, and show him the ring. When he went there, the guard said to me, he can just walk into the palace like that. Oh no. So the guards were there blocking him and saying, you thief, everybody steals something and you come back to the palace trying to sell it. We're going to lock you up. And they threw him into the dungeon. Nobody wanted to listen to him. And he pleaded, I'm an honest man and no thief. I think I would risk my life to come here from so far, and I know that the king has the power to kill me. And eventually, the king decided that he would see him. So he went to the king and about to tell his story. When he went to the king, he saw the pastor. So the pastor said, I've come to smooth the way, because the pastor had already told the king what happened. And he said, I'm so proud of you. I'm honored to have such an honest man in my kingdom. Somebody that would be willing to sacrifice his life, not willing to sell my ring to feed his family. So I'm going to reward you greatly. Can you think of some of the rewards that the king would have given him?
The cheap goat.
Okay.
Give his family food. Made him live in a mansion.
Right. So he went home excited with the news to tell his family. So the king decided that he gave them a lot of money that they could buy food, they could pay rent, they could get fire to warm themselves. But he said, we would have to move, but not just yet. But before he went home, the family was there having their share of problems. So the people who were supposed to throw them out of the house, they came. And the lady was there pleading. But guess what? The raven flew outside. And the man, what was that? She said, oh, it's a raven. The man was, I will have anything to do with anybody that have a raven in their house, because a lot of people were suspicious about ravens. They thought that they had something to do with some magic or witchcraft or something. So he decided that he would not be the one to throw them out of the house. And even if the boss was going to fire him, he would not do it. So he left them. So when the father came home with all that exciting story now, that the king would build them a nice mansion in Warsaw after the winter, and he gave them all the money that they needed.
They had clothes, but I think the clothes were torn.
Yes, so they were able to buy new clothes, food, and they got a new home. So this shows us how God provides for us. It doesn't matter what our problem is. All we need to do is to pray and trust God, and He will find a way to look out for us. Yes. All right, so close your eyes. We're going to take two prayers, one from here and one from here. Close your eyes.
Dear Jesus, thank you for today. And to take those who are still on the road and protect those. And be around those who are sick. And be around those who don't have any clothes. And they're poor and they don't have any food. Give them courage in Jesus' name. Amen.
Dear Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for bringing us to church this morning. Dear Lord, thank you for providing for us and for helping us to worship you in return. Dear Lord, as we come to church today to worship you and give you praise, we pray that you will keep us safe and help us to love you, and you will provide more for us.